Jesus, don't cry. You can rely on me, honey. You can combine anything you want.
Welcome, everyone, to another edition of the AxPx podcast, episode number 12. We're getting up there. I'm your host, Sean DeRager. With me, as always, Joey Avalos.
Hey, what's up?
Hey. How you been, man?
Good, man. Just trying to finish up all the Christmas madness.
Yeah, I know.
Getting ready for that, you know.
Well, as you guys know, if you heard the show last week, Joey was missing in action. So he's back. Welcome back. It was kind of a impromptu interview that came up with my friend Erica, and I've been trying to get her on the show. So it was she was a free. So I said, "Sorry, Joey, I'm doing this one solo."
It's all good, man.
But it was a good conversation. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And so this week, as I mentioned last show, we are going to be talking conspiracy theories. So Joey, why don't you kind of introduce the subject? It was you had brought it up and introduce our guest today.
Yeah, you and I talked about show ideas, and one of the shows we want to do was on conspiracy theories. And I have a good friend that I used to play music with in a band called Justified back in the day, and he's a bass player. He might be called something else. I don't know if you call yourself a musician, Sambo, but his name's Sambo, and he's from Nashville, Tennessee, originally from Arizona. But yeah, introduce yourself, Sambo.
Cool. Yeah. I usually tell people I'm an artist, but that's just, because in the music community, there's not a lot of people that actually like the art of it. You know what I mean? You guys know how it is. You were in the business. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, yeah, I usually call myself an artist, and then they go, "Oh, you paint?" And I go, "No, it's music." So, yeah, musical artist, I guess.
I mean, you don't have like a big old fat house with like 20 rooms and a pool bedazzled with diamonds?
Not in the States. That's in Monaco.
Nice.
Yeah, I save all that high living stuff when I'm traveling the world.
Yeah, so Sambo's a good friend of mine, and when we were talking about conspiracy theories, him and I, when we talk, we always, you get a couple pints in you, and you have great conversations on religion or conspiracy theories or philosophy or whatnot. And when we talk about the show, it's like, who could we have on this guest? I was like, well, so far we've been adding, bringing people like close to us, our friends or past relationships, and Sambo came to mind, and that's why he's here. And he's thank you for being on the show, Sambo.
Yeah, you got it, man.
There could be a problem, though. I don't know if any of us have any alcohol in us yet.
That might have to wait for part number 2.
We'll see how it goes. We'll get all liquored up for the next one.
Yeah,
be good.
Halftime, we'll go get some drinks
There we
and
go.
Back, reconvene.
So this week is on conspiracy theories. Sean and I, we're skeptics, but I think some people like Sambo, he considers himself a skeptic. But Sambo, would you consider what do you define conspiracy theory? I mean, because I like to start with definitions, because some people might think it's just all about negative stuff, like it's like you guys are crazy or something. But there's conspiracy theories to kill Lincoln back in the day, or
Right.
or other conspiracy theories that actually came out to be true. What's your take on the definition of conspiracy theory?
Man, you might be better at defining it than me, because I find myself on the side of the people that think something's crazy going on. You know what I'm saying? So when you say, okay, anytime you say the word theory, I mean, you're kind of poisoning the well already, and you're telling people it's not a fact, it's a theory. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
Right. Well,
You're saying that it hasn't been proven yet. So you're kind of starting off on the wrong foot when you're trying to make a case and you say it's a conspiracy theory. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, right, for sure. And I think definitions, yeah.
So I think it gives people that are exploring truths that are hidden for whatever reason, it gives them a bad name, I think. You know what I mean?
Right.
So Well, yeah, I guess a lot of the theories are hard to prove. You know what I mean? So
Right.
there you
Well,
go.
let's do a definition from Webster. A conspiracy theory is a theory that explains an event or set of circumstances as a result of a secret plot by usually powerful conspirators.
There you go.
There you
That's
go.
good. Because if the conspirators weren't powerful, they wouldn't really have the ability to hide it so well, right?
Right, right. And
Yeah.
some of the list of the conspiracy theories that are most popular right now, the moon landing, the JFK's assassination,
Okay, yeah.
9/11, the Holocaust. I mean, there's a slew going out there. Do you find yourself just being looking at? I think more than anything, Sean, like I like to get inside the mind of a person, why they believe the things they do. Do you find yourself conspiring against everything, or do you kind of think there's always, a puppeteer behind everything, pulling everyone's strings?
These are good questions, man. No, not in everything, and I think, especially with the way the internet is, anybody can have some idea and then post it to millions around the world. You know what I'm saying? So there's definitely some theories that there's more evidence to prove it than others, and some are just crazy people. What were we talking about? I'd never heard it before, but trolls, internet trolls, they go around making stuff up just to get under people's skin, right?
Right, trolling, yeah.
Sure.
Even if they agree with you, though, just because they like to get to rouse you up a little bit, they'll go on there and write something that they know they agree with you, but they'll write something to counter it just to get you all mad or worked up.
Yeah, so it seems like every bad thing that happens, there's somebody somewhere saying something was planned and it wasn't a coincidence. You know what I mean? I do believe that, there's stuff that happens that are just beyond people's controls, you know what I mean? And bad stuff happens sometimes, without people conspiring. You know what I'm saying? So I'm kind of, on the middle. I think some things are not given enough explanations, and it kind of opens the door for people to doubt the validity of what they're saying, especially a lot of things in the media or what's coming out of Washington, D.C. You know what I mean? A lot of the stories don't exactly add up. So they open the door for people to start questioning them. So I don't know. Did that answer your question? I don't consider myself a full-blown conspiracy theorist. Man, I saw one conspiracy theory. This dude, you guys know the atomic, the particle accelerator that they have in Geneva. Is it Geneva? You know what I'm talking?
Is that the Hadron Collider or something like that?
Yeah.
Like the Higgs boson? Are you talking about that, or what are you talking about?
Yeah, there's a couple in the world. Well, this one guy was saying that every time they turn the machine on, there's an earthquake that happens in the world.
Right.
I'm like, man, all right.
Well, that's funny because my dad actually is big into this stuff, and it's funny because when I told him we were going to be talking conspiracy theories, he texted me back and said, "Don't you mean conspiracies and top secret operations?" And
we really need to get your dad on here with Sambo one day.
We do.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
We do. He thinks that there's a few things. He doesn't believe we landed on the moon. He believes actually most recently that Hurricane Sandy was caused by the government, by almost what you were saying with the machine that they turn on and causing earthquakes, or some sort of weather control machine. HAARP, HAARP.
Mm-hmm.
He's always looking for chemtrails because they live in Iowa, so he's always taking pictures, or we saw some. He always has like he'll have a chemtrail report. And I don't know enough about this stuff, and it just sounds just out there in left field, especially the moon thing. The 9/11 thing that because there was that other building that fell that was kind of away from the World Trade Center.
Yep.
That's been people have tried to explain that. So there's been conspiracy theories about that tower. So it's just there's all this stuff that you always, every time there's an event, there's always a group or someone kind of either kind of claiming that they have the real story. Right. I guess is what we're exploring here. Yeah.
I mean, and it's fitting too, because I mean, we're all coming up to another conspiracy theory. Again, the end of the world is coming soon, December 21st.
Yeah, I really wanted to have this show in as quickly as possible because I didn't know if we were going to be back.
I guess none of the other conspiracy theories really matter at that point, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess to start, people, how much they're going to believe the conspiracy theories depends on how much they trust the government, I guess. You know what I mean?
Right.
And everybody, I think, would admit that there are top secret programs going on conducted by our governments. You know what I mean?
No, for sure. I mean, I think everyone should be skeptical for any organization in the world. I mean, you put 100% trust in anything, We're all human. We all have our human ambitions, wants, and desires. And, those can always fail us too. They always can have bad motives, good motives, and there's consequences to those too,
Yeah, definitely. And I even remember I was kind of a nerd. All right. I shouldn't be admitting to this live, but I was in speech and debate. And I know a lot of things that we focused on that we debated was kind of on the ethics of, would you save, 100? Would you sacrifice one person to save 100 people? You know what I mean? And is that ethical? So you have to say, even if people have good intentions, you can't please everybody. You know what I'm saying? It's really hard to please everybody. So the government's kind of in a bad position anyways, because even if, let's just say they do have everybody's good intent, they're well-meaning and they have good intentions, but somebody's still not going to like it. You know what I'm saying?
Right. There's always going to be pushback no matter what from someone.
Exactly. No matter what. Yeah. Now, to the extent that that they're harming people, now, see, that's what we're talking about today, right?
Right.
Well, yeah, especially since there's so many different theories. Before the show, we kind of asked you maybe pick two of them, and the two that you did pick, actually, Sean kind of already talked about, were the chemtrails, and we can explain what those are, and then also a cure for cancer and all diseases. That supposedly that there is a cure for cancer and for all diseases. And correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm stating it incorrectly, but that's been suppressed. And I guess, going from there, since we have a short amount of time, we can explore different conspiracy theories, carry this conversation to part 2, part 3, and so on. That's Sean and ours. Yeah. So I guess we could start with chemtrails. I mean, do you think kind of explain that to the layperson? Like Sean and I, we come into this like, what are chemtrails? We hear, Sean hears his dad talk about them. I hear it from you. But, what are chemtrails?
All right. So chemtrail is short for chemical trail. And they're related to contrails, which stands for condensation trail. And it comes when you look in the sky and you see airplanes and you see that cloud that forms behind them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what the contrail, the condensation trails are, like all the exhaust from the engine and stuff from the planes, because of the altitude and the air pressure and the coldness and everything, it condenses all those particles into like ice crystal things. You know what I'm saying? And that's why you see that little cloud. That's what that is. And that's where they get the name contrail. It's condensation of the exhaust. But if you notice, it doesn't last that long in the sky. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You'll see it, maybe a minute, 2 goes by, and then it's gone. Mm-hmm. I guess it just falls to the ground or whatever.
Well, it just evaporates or just into the...
I guess. I'm not a scientist, so I have
that's fine.
studies. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's it. Show's over. I'm sorry.
Oh, I don't have any authority to speak on. Yep.
Well,
then...
Yeah, go ahead.
In the chemtrail, people have started noticing that those clouds are lasting a lot longer than they used to. And I think that's why people started questioning, okay, well, what is coming out of those planes? Because we're used to the contrails, we're used to that condensation, but it disappears pretty fast, visually when you're looking from the ground up in the sky. And now they're starting to hang around for, half an hour. And so anyway, that's, I guess, the background on.
Okay. And so they're there, but what do people think that they're being used for specifically? Like, why would we care about those hanging around there?
Well, there's a lot of different theories, and some of them have to do. There's a documentary called "What in the World Are They Spraying?" and they started researching this.
I actually watched that, Sambo.
Did you watch it?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. So where it started from, their investigation was they attended a scientific meeting in San Diego, and this was about. It's called geoengineering. So scientists have already been getting together and formulating plans about what they can do to make our Earth better. And with the global warming thing, that's a whole nother thing. Man. But let's just say that there's a lot of people in the scientific community that are trying to combat global warming. So one of the ideas was, what can we do to change, I guess, the atmosphere? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so, in an effort to make the world a better place, I guess, to change the weather for whatever purposes they want to, blocking out the sun when they don't want it. They spray these aluminum particles in the air to reflect the sun, and you know what I'm saying, man?
No, I understand. Yeah.
Explaining this really poorly, man.
No, you're doing good.
The geoengineering basically is altering the weather for purposes that suit whatever the scientists want. If they want it to rain, they can make it rain. If they want it to not rain, then they'll not make it rain.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? I actually first heard about this. Do you guys remember when the Summer Olympics were in China a few years ago? What was that, 2008,
Mm-hmm.
I believe?
Yes.
Well, I was reading that the Chinese government was being criticized for not making dome stadiums. They were all open-air stadiums.
Uh-huh.
So people were questioning them, saying, what if it rains? Why didn't you make any domes? And the Chinese government replied, don't worry, it's not going to rain. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that opened this whole world of possibilities. Can governments control the weather? And I guess the answer is yes. There's actually, I think it was in the 50s. It was in the early 50s, 50, 51, 52, something like that. The British government had a top secret program called Operation Cumulus, or Operation Cumulus, depending on the way you.
Yeah.
And it comes from the cumulus is one type of cloud, so it was like a cloud operation. So they flooded out an entire town, man. They made it rain, dude, and they couldn't make it stop. And it flooded out this whole town, and they killed a bunch of people. Well, the British government denied it, for years and years, decades. And finally, like in the last 10, 15 years, the files were declassified, and the information becomes public. And now we know that flood happened because they made it rain. The British government, so the technology has been there for a long time.
Yeah. Do you happen to know where people would find that study?
Maybe they could just type in, just Google Operation Cumulus. I'm sure have some hits on there.
Okay. I'm gonna get some notes here, so when people go to the webpage, hopefully I'll have some show notes here. So if you're listening, you should have some links on the website.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you mentioned that they have there's many theories. I mean, one theory I've heard the controlling of the weather theory, but also I hear this population control theory that they're spraying this alumina into our soil. It lands in our soil to basically, in a sense, poison us. Is that? Have you heard of that theory?
Yeah, and I think that's the dominant theory. Mm-hmm. Is they're spraying these harmful metals in the air. For population control. It's going to people are going to breathe it in when it falls down to the ground, and these metals are toxic to our bodies. They're toxic to the soil and all the plants growing in it, and which kind of ties into the whole Monsanto thing. Are we getting ahead of ourselves, man? Mm-hmm. Well, we all know that like GMOs, genetically modified organisms, right?
Yeah.
And they're resistant to a lot of chemicals and pesticides and stuff, right? So farmers like it because they don't have to spray anything. It saves them money and the crop still grows. You know what I mean?
Right.
So if you put the two of them together, people are saying that crops are not going to grow except the crops that come from the seeds from Monsanto or these different corporations. So that they get all the money. Nothing is going to grow except their crops, which means more money for them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I already know that the Monsanto, they've already... there's in the documentary Food Inc., Monsanto is mentioned, and they do mention that, that farmers are only going to be able to grow Monsanto-type beans just because of... I guess the regular beans will be susceptible to, I don't know, all pesticides, or it's pretty crazy. So there's already documented fact that Monsanto is trying to control who buy basically create a monopoly on these like soybeans and corn and stuff like that.
Yep. And according to the documentary, researchers have already been trying to, scientists, inventors are trying to come up with seeds that are aluminum resistant. Yeah. Why they would if there's no aluminum being sprayed, that's one of the questions, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That the government's not answering. That's one of the big theories is releasing all these toxins in the air. It does help the big corporations like Monsanto to make more money, where they can kind of basically killing the competition. And then also it's causing a lot of health problems in people. And one of the biggest issues in the entire world is our resources, our natural resources. And if people keep having babies and the population keeps growing, and we're not going to have enough resources, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's a big issue, and some of the only solutions are either to increase the natural resources or decrease the population, right?
Right.
So...
Well, I think this is good. I think, I don't know, what about you, Sean? I think it gives us a good a background.
Uh-huh.
And if you're okay with it, Sambo, I think in the second part of the show we'll kind of go back to these topics and we'll kind of call it the Skeptics Corner from Sean and I, kind of not in a friendly pushback, kind of ask some questions to maybe. Does this make sense? Why do conspiracy theories jump to these conclusions? Are they jumping to conclusions, or is there some real true evidence linking to the truth?
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of thing. So
speak for yourself, Joey. I'm going for the jugular. You're going down, Sambo. I'm just kidding.
No, thanks, Sambo. Thanks for sharing that. I mean, this is all fascinating stuff. And the other topic that you brought up, which is another, I mean, it's probably impacted all of us or some people we've known in our lives, is cancer and disease. I mean, people dying with terrible cancer and terrible diseases. But you brought up last time we hung out, you brought up an interesting topic about how you believe that there is a cure for cancer, and you have proof. And the one guy you brought up is I guess you would call him a scientist. Maybe you consider him something else, but maybe you can describe a little bit more who this guy was. Correct me if wrong. His name is Royal Rife or Riffy?
Yeah, Royal Rife.
Okay, Rife. Sorry about that. Yeah.
Cool, man.
And who is this Royal Rife, and what did he claim he actually did? I guess he claimed that he cured cancer back like in the 1930s.
Yeah. He was a doctor that studied optics, and he got his training in Germany. And so, back in the 20s and 30s, they didn't have the electron microscope, or their technology wasn't as powerful. They couldn't see the things that we see with our microscopes nowadays. But he was able to create one, and with it, and he also had a different way of viewing the specimens, was with light instead of like iodine or different stains, because the stains actually kill a lot of the stuff that you're trying to look at. You know what I mean? So instead of being able to see like live blood cells or different bacteria or germs or whatever you're looking at, they die under the stain. So you're looking at dead samples. So he was able to see them in their living state. And so with that microscope, he started viewing all these microbes, and he came up with this laser. I feel like Dr. Evil,
lasers.
Classic.
Yeah, and he found the different frequencies that would kill all these different kinds of microorganisms from. He claims he found the cancer cell, and he could kill it, like just all kinds of stuff. The flu or whatever, any of that stuff, man. He's got some published stuff that is hard to come by, where he gives the exact frequencies that killed the individual bacteria or fungi or whatever it is, and he kills it with frequencies, and his microscope allowed him to see it and conduct all these studies. So that's the background on him, man.
Okay, yeah. And so I guess, what is the conspiracy behind this? I mean, I've kind of read a little bit about him, about, these suppression of the truth, court cases, death, suicides, deaths. I mean, the list goes on and on. It almost like this conspiracy of the medical field covering up this information, Is that basically the gist of the conspiracy?
Yeah, because they can't make money off of it, basically. See, he kind of, I guess, reestablished what it's called, what is it called? Oh, dude. Pleomorphism. As opposed to monomorphism. So the story goes, everybody has heard of Louis Pasteur, right?
Right.
And germ theory.
Right.
Germ theory. Okay, we don't need to explain it. You got germs make us sick, basically.
Right.
There's a lot of other scientists at the time that had the theory that these organisms are actually always inside of us. We're not getting sick because we're ingesting germs from outside of us, but the germs are actually inside of us, and they change or morph according to the environment. So that's pleomorphism. And Royal Rife kind of brought that back, saying that as he's studying all of these microorganisms, he changes the environment and they change. They can change like from bacteria to fungi, and they have different states depending on what their environment. Now, the environment includes the pH balance of the body, the oxygen level in the blood, and then they also found that the emotional state of somebody is enough to change the environment. And so I'm sorry this is kind of disorganized, guys. But
no, you're doing good, man.
Yeah, so this is kind of going to why Royal Rife couldn't make it in the industry, because the germ theory was the dominant viewpoint. And the reason they preferred the germ theory was because I guess it's kind of it just shows you the kind of world that we live in. Like, people just want quick fixes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you can put a name to something and then say this is its cure, that's what people want to hear. So you're able to make money off of that. At the same time, knowing that they're not curing the person, all they are is taking care of the negative effects that person is feeling. You know what I'm saying?
Right. They're suppressing the symptoms without actually curing the person, the individual.
That's a good way of putting it. Exactly. They're suppressing the symptoms, but the person is not any healthier.
Mm-hmm.
And they say an ounce of prevention is worth what's the saying, guys? An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Sure. That sounds good to me.
Yeah. I mean, if you can prevent somebody or make healthy people,
mm-hmm.
then the pharmaceutical companies and doctors don't really have a business.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's the thinking behind why Royal Rife got blackballed, and his research never saw the light of day because they couldn't make money off of it.
That was really interesting, man. That's I mean, and when I talk to you, I mean, this sounds like it's a device because you got these radio frequencies, or as you call it, medicine. Does this device, or does any of his work actually exist today, and are people actually using it?
No, they say there's a couple of his lasers
mm-hmm.
around, but none of them are functional.
Okay.
The secret kind of died with him. He was the guy that invented all of that stuff, and
right.
So when he died, it died with him, man.
Did he not have research, saved? I mean, it's not like they had hard drives and stuff like that back then, but did his findings get destroyed or disappeared, or?
There was a fire, oddly enough.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that a coincidence? Huh?
Conspiracy.
Well, I'm told that's why the movie Armageddon never got a good release in DVDs, because there was a fire that destroyed the master.
Really?
Luckily, it's on Blu-ray now, so they found it. Because there was money to be made. Anyway,
if you can make money.
Sorry for derailing that. I just
No, it's all right. But it's not just Royal Rife, man. The whole health community. There's a big divide between the two sides, and
what do you mean by two sides? What do you mean by two sides?
Okay, Western medicine, and I don't like the word, but everybody would recognize the name alternative medicine.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Which a lot of people in the community don't like that word, alternative medicine.
Yeah, well, because everyone associates like alternative medicine with what was that place in the Philippines where they were pretending to pull out tumors? Everyone kind of thinks about that because that was broke as being a hoax.
Yeah.
So everyone associates, alternative medicine, but my cousin actually does acupuncture, so she's a firm believer then that alternative medicine, can be very beneficial.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
So you have on one side the, I guess we'll just call it the westernized modern medicine community.
Uh-huh.
They're the germ theory people that say, hey, there's these germs or viruses or bacteria or whatever, and we just got to kill them. You know what I mean? And then you'll be good.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, let's call it the eclectic bunch. I saw that name floating around. They're more into the balance of the person, saying if a person is in balance, then they won't be sick. The body was made to take care of itself and to not get sick. And when everything is in harmony, our bodies are more than capable of thwarting any kind of invasion of bad guys.
Uh-huh.
Also known as diseases or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
What I mean? So, I mean, there you go. And that's why I think it's not only the pharmaceutical companies and all these people. I don't think that people want to believe this stuff, man. Like I said, the society that we live in is wanting quick fixes. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
In order to have a healthy body, you have to have a healthy lifestyle. And I just don't think people are ready for that, man. They would rather have medicine. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So where a lot of conspiracy theorists put all the blame on the big corporate companies, the pharmaceutical companies, the AMA, the American Medical Association, the FDA, I think people just have to take responsibility for themselves. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
I saw this,
Oh, go ahead.
yeah, I don't watch much TV. It's basically sports, football. Anyway, there was an infomercial on, and I don't know, some system that you strap on to your waist or something, and then you put a gel on, and then you lose weight, and you lose all your...
Right, and it chemically stimulates the fat cells to disappear.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, man, 6-minute abs. I mean, the list goes on, man, with that stuff.
Yeah, but then there, I see the testimonials of people on there, and some people are saying, yeah, I don't want to exercise. I just want to put this thing on, and it'll just do all the work for me. I don't want to have to work for it. I just thought, you know what? Isn't that pretty typical, man?
Yeah, I think that's pretty typical of our modern society out here. Is you're right. People don't want to put in the legwork really to get things done, especially when it comes to health. People just want to either take a pill. I mean, you see tons of commercials for pharmaceuticals, all over the place, and then quick weight loss. If you watch TV, which I don't really watch much TV either, it's all, not like regular live programming, but everything is, all the commercials are making your life easier, quicker way to do this, faster way to do this.
Yep.
Especially when it comes to like weight loss and things like that. So we definitely live in a kind of a fast food society already. And it's getting worse and worse the more time goes on. It seems like people want things faster, quicker. They don't want to wait. And I'm actually on a, before we started the show, Sam and I were talking about vinyl. Like, I'm just rediscovering vinyl, and it's funny, it's just, it does take longer to listen to a record, and there's a way to do it. And then even on shows before, I talked about every now and then I'll smoke a tobacco pipe. Well, you're looking at a 2-hour chunk of time to do that, But people today, they don't do stuff like that, even to relax. They're like trying to find the quickest way to relax, the quickest way to get their music. A lot of people, I don't know, they just want everything quick. And it's funny that kind of people like me are rediscovering kind of older technologies just to kind of get what it was like to be kind of a slower, more focused time,
Yeah, that's the cool thing about the record players, man, is you can't just, skip from one record, one artist to the next, you know, at the push of a button, or, you know, skip songs, or you put it on and you listen to the whole thing.
Yeah. So I mean, that's just a little glimpse, you know, a little way to look at it. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's a crazy, and that's almost another subject we can almost look into someday. It's, you know, what is our society heading to? You know. Yeah, it's funny because like
Go ahead.
Well, like I always think I'm a movie buff, so I always think in movie terms. But the movie WALL-E, you know, where everyone is on their hover chairs.
Yep.
It's almost like we are heading that way, but you know, people always say that. It's like, well, you got to lose weight, but I don't really want to take the time to lose the weight.
Exactly.
So there's a fast way to lose it.
Exactly. What's a fast way? Is there a pill I can take?
Yeah, something I can strap on my body. We're talking to Sambo about conspiracy, quote unquote, theories, and we were talking chemtrails. And then talking that there is a cure for cancer, and talking about Royal Rife. Let's go back here and kind of do a skeptic's corner here, and kind of ask. Maybe there's a few more. I think we can dig deeper into the chemtrails. Joey, did you have a couple of questions to throw Sambo's away?
No, I find it all fascinating because when I was watching these documentaries that Sambo sent me links to, a lot of them have to do in Arizona, which I live in Arizona, where Sambo used to live in Arizona as well. And so I've taken more of a conscious effort to look into the skies. The reason why I was out with a good friend the other day, we were at a Starbucks just hanging out, talking for a couple hours. And I looked up in the sky, and we actually started talking about chemtrails. And then we were looking up in the sky, and there was this jetliner. I presumably going to Sky Harbor Airport. It looked like it was landing in its landing descent, but it was leaving a contrail behind it. So what I did, I timed it to see how long it would last. It was a Southwest plane just because I could see the colors from the altitude it was at, but it lasted for about almost a good 2 hours. I mean, of course it dissipates, it starts fanning out because of the wind and whatnot, but it lasted for 2 hours. So my question when I see that stuff, does the pilot know? Is Southwest behind it? Who's behind this? Is that just a contrail, or how do we know it's a contrail or versus a chemtrail if chemtrails actually exist?
I think that's one of the things about it is how do you test that? You know what I'm saying?
No, I understand.
That? I don't know, man. You kind of just have to use your better judgment. Our generation has grown up with airplanes. You know what I mean? Like, we're pretty used to seeing them.
Right.
So you can tell the difference when one looks a little funny, can't you? Or let's just say you can kind of see the ones that look pretty typical versus the ones that have their own identity. Where you go, that guy's a little bit different. You know what I'm saying?
No, I get you. And I think a lot of the pushback has to do, too, is that maybe some of these conspiracy theories are not taken into consideration is the time of the year that they might see these chemtrails more. Granted, we're in the month of December, so there's a lot more air traffic because of the holidays. And,
right.
And I've saw a lot of jets over this, 3-hour period that we were sitting there having a cup of coffee. I could see, these contrails or whatever they might be. But that's, I guess, I think the tough part for me sometimes, conspiracy theorists always use this quote unquote they, and we never really check our sources. Like, who is they? It's like for anything to bring into a conspiracy theorist, I always look at any situation. And Sean and I have talked about this too. No matter who you are, before you go into any subject or any topic, we all bring presuppositions to it, whether it's philosophy, religion, politics, you name it. So when I hear this stuff, and then they always say government conspiracies or they don't this and that, don't trust, usually the majority of the people that believe in these conspiracy theories already have a presupposition of doubting or distrust in some kind of maybe organized religion or politics or whatever it could be of the government. And that's why I have a hard time too, because are we actually, it's hard to be unbiased on the situation because we do have the presuppositions. And then on top of it, then there's confirmation biases. So we go out and looking for evidence that fit our worldviews. And then, of course, then you throw in the, personal experiences. Well, like me, if I've said, well, I just saw one, and it lasted for almost 2 hours, that has to be a chemtrail. And so our mind, in my sense, is our mind is all trying to put the puzzle together. And even though there's tons of gaps in it, we just make this conclusion that fits our worldview. Would you agree that, Sambo, to some degree?
Yeah, to some degree. Well, let's go back to Operation. I want to say Cumulus just because
right.
It's so funny of a word to say Cumulus instead of Cumulus.
Cumulus.
Operation Cumulus. Imagine you're out on your little farm, in England. It was a small little town. It wasn't London or anything.
Right.
It's the 1950s, man. You probably don't. Maybe your neighbor has a radio, or maybe you're the lucky one of the neighborhood that has a radio. You know what I'm saying? Like you're drinking your English tea. I don't know. What did they do in the 50s? The Lone Ranger? And then it just starts raining out of control, man, and your town floods and a lot of people die. Now imagine somebody, at the coffee shop, and everybody gets back together going, that wasn't natural. That was the government that flooded us. What would you think?
But why did they jump to the conclusion that it was the government? Why can't it be something else?
No, I'm just saying exactly. At that time, people would look at that person like they were crazy, man. They'd be like, yo, dude, the government, are you crazy, man? This is the 50s. We don't even have a TV yet.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. I mean, if we even got into religion, people always doubted, the governments and their suppression of the poor and the weak. And from day one, whoever has the power, there's people that are lower underneath them, always, skeptical or have some pushback,
Yeah, definitely. But put ourselves in that situation. There would be absolutely no evidence to those people that the government flooded them out and killed a lot of their friends and family. Right? Would you agree? There's not much evidence that they would have had to go on. Nobody even probably thought to blame the government except some, maybe some crazy people.
The town drunk.
Yeah, the town drunk. It used to be in the Navy or something, or in the Air Force. A jet fighter pilot that knew what they were doing, but he's a drunk, so nobody listened to him. Well, look, 50 years later, it comes out, it really was a government that flooded them. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, I would have, my question is, I'd have to see that evidence and check the sources, because, we're going off your, I respect you, Sambo, but, that's kind of the skeptic in me.
Look it up.
Follow. Even if you find that information, to the point, I'll keep it skeptical. Not that I'm closed-minded to it,
But you do. Oh, go ahead, Sean.
Oh no, I just thought about this too. I have heard reports of cloud seeding.
That's it, cloud seeding.
And cloud seeding, that is actually not a. Sorry, my microphone here. And from what I've read, cloud seeding is not anything that they're keeping a secret.
Yes, you're correct.
Yeah, but I think it's the whole.
But it's not something that's exactly reported either. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I know that, and I know that there's been tests and stuff done like that. So. Interesting. I just put 2 and 2 together here. Exactly.
That's where it comes from. But look, it's taken 50 years for this stuff to come out. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So what, so basically your argument is, what don't we know about if it's taken this long?
In 50 years, what are they going to declassify and say, it's been 50 years. Yeah. They're bound to find out anyways. Who cares? All the people that lived through it are either dead or too old to do anything about it.
It's interesting, man. You should really, if you're out in in Arizona in March, there's actually a lecture at ASU Gamage with a couple of scientists on the subject of climate change and climate control, which I'm going to go to. So if you want to come out, man, that'd be great. Yeah, I'd love to.
Dude, I might plan it, man. That'd be so cool.
It's with Lawrence Krauss, the head physicist professor at ASU, and a bunch of scientists.
So here's the thing. you have the technology is available, right? It's within their power to do it, right?
Yes.
I mean, it's yeah, okay. It's not like they're beaming in Martians from 200 years in the future to, it's within reason that they have the abilities to do this.
Right.
Then you have the facts that a lot of people are taking samples, of the soil, and they're finding more levels of aluminum and barium than normal. You know what I mean?
No, I understand. I mean, but also with, again, I'm not a biologist or a chemist or anything like that, but to jump to the conclusion saying, oh, I see this, I think this is what's happening. Oh, look, we're finding evidence of this, then jumping together saying that they connect some way. Don't you think that's kind of just creating the puzzle the way you want it to make it look like? You say, hey, that's the reason why. Why jump to that conclusion without maybe possibly just because you have this presupposition that the government is doing this? Oh, we found evidence that fits, the big picture of what we're trying to go for.
It goes back to the beliefs that you bring into it. And the people that trust the government are going to believe that the government would never do anything to hurt them. Never in a million years would our government want to hurt us. This is ridiculous that they'd be dropping chemicals on us. They put fluoride in our drinking water because it helps our teeth, man. And I'm thankful. That's one less bill I have is the dentist bill. So you get those people.
Yeah, what? No.
It's another good one, actually.
Well, when I listen I hear you say us, I mean they are part of us, because that's how I always think about conspiracy theories. It's like that Disney movie, National Treasure, when Nicolas Cage is a treasure hunter, and then his dad is, I think, played by John Voight or something, and he goes to his son, he goes, stop chasing after this treasure. He goes, but I found the answer to this. He goes, don't you get it? Once you answer one question, there's going to be another question, another question, and another question. So what I bring that into our conversation is that, if our government is poisoning us, how are they not being poisoned by the same means? I expect their family doesn't all live in their little bubble, that they're protected. They live all over the world, especially if this is a worldwide phenomenon. That are they taking these special pills? Then that conspiracy theory, okay, where are they getting these pills? Or what are they getting this medicine to deflect this? Where are they getting their food? Are they just got to, you know what I mean? It kind of leads into another question beyond questions. And does it ever end?
Definitely. Well, I do have a filter that filters out all the fluoride and stuff. It's only in my shower, though. They're not cheap, you know what I mean?
Right.
And this is why it makes such a good topic of conversation, is that a conspiracy theorist would say, of course the government is going to hide it. Of course they're not. If there is any evidence, of course the government would do everything that they could to control it and keep it under wraps. And if it did leak out, then the first thing they would do would be to debunk it and come up with other explanations for it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So you have circular reasoning on both sides.
Right.
So you kind of have to take, and that's why you really have to think about what do you believe the makeup of our leaders are. Are they people with integrity, or are they people that are looking out for themselves? And that is actually a deeper philosophical question. Even back in the day, they were talking about the mythical philosopher king, saying a philosopher would be the best person to rule over people, but a philosopher would also be the last person that would want to go out and win an election. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
So you kind of have that. The people that are seeking the power, what kind of people are they? What are power-hungry people like? And I do use power-hungry, which I that's not a very neutral adjective. The people that are seeking positions of influence, what are they like? And you got the good and the bad. You just kind of have to weigh. Are there more good or are there more bad? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Are there more people in politics that are trying to make a difference? Or are there more people out there that are just trying to get ahead and get theirs. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, do you think that you might be giving them too much credit for that they're this competent to be able to pull off something this grand? I mean, let's not name any names. Let's talk about, well, why not George Bush, you know?
Okay, yeah.
You know, I mean, you know, when you get this whole 9/11 truthers and stuff, like they think George Bush had this grand conspiracy. I mean, you know, the guy, you know, not to go attack him ad hominem or anything, but like it almost like people say that he can barely tie his shoes and, you know, talk at the same time, you know?
Right.
But was that just a public persona, Joey?
Right, exactly. How deep does this rabbit hole go?
Well, you guys have heard of Jesse Ventura, right? The
Yes.
ex-governor of Minnesota and ex-Navy SEAL, ex-professional wrestler, who also happened to be in one of my favorite movies of all time, Predator.
Exactly.
He can't be that bad if he was in Predator, man.
Yeah.
He has some of the best quotes, too.
Oh, yeah, man. I ain't got time to bleed. Did you hear about his book? Those all those declassified papers of the government, and it's like the 20 government papers that you should read. They're open for anybody to read. They're declassified now, and he kind of picks out the major ones. Well, in one of them, it was for the Cuban Missile Crisis. It's always easier to look back in retrospect. Hindsight's 20/20, right? Mm-hmm. It's easy to look back and say, "Oh yeah, that makes sense." It's always so. People now are not delusional about the Cuban Missile Crisis. We are looking for a way to get into war over there. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And in one of these papers, top secret declassified papers, it comes up with a plan of how to get into war with Cuba. And basically, it had this whole plan. It never came to fruition. It never happened, but it was in their schemes of something that they could do if it ever came up. And their plan was to get a plane full of like college kids or something on spring break, have one of the U.S. Military blow up their plane over Cuban waters. And then, of course, if there's a big explosion, the Cubans are going to send out all their boats to investigate it, right? Well, then they send in reporters and cameras and take pictures of the explosion and then the Cuban boats. And that's all they would need to publish to get the American public against the Cubans. Oh, look, the Cubans blew up our these sweet innocent college kids. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And all along it was, and this is declassified. So our government thinks about these kinds of things, man.
No, I understand. I get that. I mean, I don't trust the government 110% either. I don't think anyone should. But I think to get back on topic, you know, it's going to the whole thing, like what, you know, my personal experience. Okay, I saw this Contra that might be a chemtrail because it lasted a lot longer than what they used to. So they say. Right. So how deep does this go? Is the FFA actually a part of it? Is how deep does this go? I mean, you think about it. I kind of use Occam's razor in a lot of this stuff. You know, usually how it goes is to paraphrase it basically is the simplest explanation is usually the right one. You know, and the more complex it doesn't mean it's wrong, but the more complex and more people involved, you know, a lot of these conspiracy theories have, the more it can fall apart because of the human interaction of keeping everyone on the same page, keeping everyone quiet, having that kind of control. It seems like it's, you know, maybe there's some truth to it, but maybe, you know, maybe we exaggerate the truth as conspiracy theorists that maybe we're just searching for something more than really the obvious answer is like, this is not happening to the full degree that we think it is.
Yeah, that's possible. But there's also the opposite saying, truth is stranger than fiction. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, with these like chemtrails, especially stuff like this, I think that it's hard, like, on both sides, and I think that's why these kind of stay conspiracy theories, because you can't really prove, basically either way. So that's why they kind of stay this anomaly, because there isn't like a smoking gun. You know what I mean? There isn't a smoking gun saying that, yeah, the government is behind these chemtrails, that they're seeding the atmosphere to start, either to create rain or to even create inclement weather, or even like my dad associates the chemtrails with HARP, which is kind of like using weather as a weapon. And they've been testing this weapon, which is why Sandy happened, which is why Katrina happened, stuff like that. So, it's like you can't prove it either way. So these things just stay out there, in the collective conscience, and everyone's debating it back and forth, and there's websites on both sides. So there's a reason why these stay conspiracy theories. And, unless we get some major declassified documents, saying that, Hurricane Katrina was the result of, so-and-so.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Until 50 years comes by. Yeah, and then they declassify them, and then, it's already forgotten news.
And then we'll learn that is why Obama won. Let's move on into more into back into the curing of the cancer and Royal Rife. We're starting to run out of time here, and let's talk more about Royal Rife and the claims that he did come up with a method of curing cancer and most diseases. We already talked about basically his findings, what he discovered. Let's jump into some skepticism going towards that. Joey, do you have a question to start us off with?
Yeah, let me get my notes real quick here, get them organized. Should have done that over the break, but let's see here. I think, well, when I got these links from Sambo, and I've heard his spiel on it before, so I've had some time to do a little more research. What I did was kind of take more of an approach, because I've actually a friend that works at the Mount Sinai Medical Research Facility in New York City, and I was hoping to get his take on this. I sent him some of the articles that Sambo sent me, but he's between like presentations, lectures, doing some stuff right now. But he tried to give me a real quick thing about cancer, because he's actually in the research field of cancer right now. He basically, quote unquote, said the reason why, to say it nicely, he thinks Royal Rife is nuts. First of all, I mean, he straight out said that. And the reason why he's wrong mainly largely has to do with the fact that cancer, quote unquote cancer, is not a single disease, but is rather many tens of thousands of diseases with different principal causes. And I kind of listen to that kind of stuff. When people, I guess in my skeptic brain, when someone says they have a cure-all or, anything, it almost sounds like the 6-minute abs, or it does sound like the ointment or cream you're talking about, put it on your abs and put the device on it and it will disappear your fat,
Snake oil, selling snake oil.
Yeah, exactly. So when you make a claim like that, or say in the past, but of course, conveniently, the conspiracy of it, do we have this information? Oh, no, it got burned. It got this way. Okay. It seems like in any research facility would be curious to, you can't control them all. There's thousands of research facilities throughout the world that they're not all. I actually asked him, my friend, I go, have you heard of this guy? And I go, yeah, we've heard of this guy. He's nuts. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And again, this is back in the 1930s when we all thought certain things were how far medicine has come to even 2012, to understanding how certain things work. And so,
and on that, I am so thankful for, this is said in a very sarcastic tone, by the way. I'm very thankful for all the modern technology, because our lives are so much better, and sickness and diseases are fast becoming extinct. Mm-hmm. I'm very thankful for all the doctors and all their hard work. Thank you.
No, I understand that. Yeah, I don't take like you have this negative towards doctors, or like you're
It's not even negative. It's
antsy. Yeah.
the fact is that you don't have to be a straight A student or genius to be a doctor or a researcher. You know what I'm saying? And let's just leave it at that.
No, I understand. I know a lot of incompetent doctors. Just because you're a doctor doesn't mean you know it all, for sure.
Exactly. Yep.
Do you have any thoughts? I mean, I have a lot more I can go into briefly. Sean, do you have anything to interject? Your thoughts on it?
There's like so much to read about with Royal Rife and his findings and stuff like that. That I was almost overwhelmed this week trying to prepare for the show. Are there people like trying to use his research to create things? I mean, is there kind of these fringe people trying to create and sell this type of cure-all, or is it a device? Or
yeah, it's his laser gun, man.
The laser gun.
I always like to call it the rifle, man. The Royal rifle. He worked pretty much by himself, and if you had an assistant or two, I mean, it's all lost. It's all lost. Even though there are a couple of his lasers around, nobody knows how to work them, and they're not in working condition.
Right. So I mean, that's the crux of the matter right there. That's the that there's really there's all these claims and people talking about his research, but there's really not any research for us to really follow up on. You know what I mean?
No. The coolest thing is it doesn't stop with Royal Rife. Like there's Dr. Bob Beck. He uses technology to cure cancer as well, with electricity, actually.
Okay.
And he didn't even do the research. Other people did it for him, but of course it never sees the light of day. Like, hey, electricity kills bad stuff. Wouldn't you know? That's the whole thing about dialysis. You know that? They take your blood out and they electrocute it and it cleans it and then they put it back in you. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's not like these technologies are just crazy out there theories. You know what I mean? They actually work. I was telling Joey that I have a friend that was like a stage 4 cancer patient. She was going to die. They didn't give her much time to live. And she got, started doing research, and she got a hold of the Bob Beck protocol, and she cured herself, man. She goes back to the doctor, and the doctor trips out, and she goes, what did you do? And what is she going to tell him? She goes, you're a doctor. You're not going to believe a word I said. Of course, he didn't believe a word she said.
Yeah. Well, what's the Beck's advice? Is this something you strap on yourself and and electrocute yourself? See, that's the funny thing. Like that's the funny thing, Sambo, is when you start talking about this stuff, it does sound ridiculous.
You know what sounds ridiculous? Radiation and chemotherapy sounds ridiculous, man.
Yeah.
Like, hey, let's just throw a bunch of toxins and let's kill you. And if the cancer dies first and you live, well, hey, then good for you.
Right.
Otherwise, you're going to die anyways. You know what I mean? That's ridiculous. That's not science, man. That's giving up. So I feel, I might sound sarcastic. I made some sarcastic comments and stuff, but it's serious matter, Like, I care about the well-being of people, and I wish that that more people would take this seriously and stop believing what the doctors are telling them, because if you look at it, the mainstream, let's call them pop doctors, right? There's pop music and mainstream. Yeah. Let's call them pop doctors, popular doctors. They will lose their fortune if they cure people. It's just a matter of fact. If people are sick, they're not making money, right?
Well,
so why are they interested in curing people?
Well, if that's the case, Sambo, why is there any cures for anything? I mean, what about tuberculosis or like measles? Yep. That killed a lot of people. I mean, we don't have those on the numbers, through the generations of humankind. Do we have those numbers of people dying from those terrible diseases?
See, so that's what it goes back to. The most of the westernized world, the Western medicine, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, they're still subscribing to the germ theory. You know what I'm saying? But tuberculosis, all this, if we can just kill that, then we've done our job. You know what I mean? And it works on some level. Yeah, penicillin killed a whole lot of stuff. But so does colloidal silver. Well, nobody's ever heard of colloidal silver, but everybody knows what penicillin is. You know what I mean?
Right.
So people have to start researching the environment. And is there truth to the pleomorphism? Are there these there's different names for them, micro zemas, or that's what the doctor Bechamp called them.
Zimas are terrible, man. Don't drink those. Those are gross.
But that's the only reason I remember the name. Because what is the name? Yeah, it's like that malt liquor drink. Yeah, Zima. He found these microzemas, adapt, and they change to different things depending on the environment. Mm-hmm. And so that's why if they started with that theory of pleomorphism rather than the germ theory as a basis for all the research, things would be a whole lot different, man. I like one doctor, he says, he goes, if you got a bunch of bad stuff in your system, like, change your playground. You don't give them, make their environment hostile. They'll leave on their own. They're living things like anything else. If they don't have a good home, they're going to take off and find a better one. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's like our whole defense mechanism of the fever. We're creating a hostile environment for those viruses and stuff. They don't like the heat, man. So we get a fever, and that's one of our body's natural defenses. So, I think there's a lot more research that needs to be done, man, about our bodies. Which, okay, I was thinking about this, right? You have to be 18 to smoke cigarettes legally in the United States, right? I was thinking, I understand that. A young kid shouldn't have the choice to smoke or not because, they're not old enough to understand the consequences of what smoking does. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But you're 18 years old. If you want to smoke, then you smoke. You know what it does to you. And if, you're an adult, make that decision for yourself if that's what you want to do. But, it's not cool if a 5-year-old was smoking. He doesn't know what it's doing to his body. You know what I mean? So there's laws in place. I understand. Why are there not laws in place for fast food, man? How is it that a little 3-year-old can get a Happy Meal? They're not intelligent enough to make that decision for themselves. Right. You know what I mean?
You're definitely not a libertarian, are you?
I don't know what that means, but why is the FDA not on that? Why is the Surgeon General saying, you know what? There's enough research that shows that manufactured food is not really good for you, right. But if you're an adult, make that own decision for yourself. But if you're under a certain age, you don't have the capacity to make that decision for yourself. Right. So we're gonna be the good guys and tell you no. Don't do it. When you're old enough and you want to do that to your body, do it to your body.
No, that makes sense. But they've been making mandatory, tell you exactly what the calories, how much, like McDonald's, they have to mandatory post what everything, actually accounts for your calorie intake, sodium, cholesterol, all that stuff now.
Right, but on a cigarette box, it says it could cause cancer. They don't say that a McDonald's a Big Mac. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And maybe the research hasn't been there. And that's what I find boggling is that nobody's researched that.
So are you saying, to me it sounds like with this conspiracy, the theory around the conspiracy theory around this is it sounds like modern medicine is going a certain way. Most everyone is studying this in this certain direction, would you feel better if there was kind of a level playing field, if they would research this other stuff as well, or do you feel like that modern medicine is just kind of sweeping this research under the table and just, not even looking at it? Do you feel like they should at least look at it, even if it is to debunk it?
Yeah, they definitely should at least publish some of the findings. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And it's funny because everybody that does come out with a new theory on curing diseases and stuff, you don't hear about it. I was actually talking with a friend that was telling me about a new way of thinking about the cancer, and that was at the genetic level. And they were experimenting on gene therapy to cure the cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, well, that makes a lot of sense. That's pretty cool research. Well, it just so happened that week I looked at the newspaper, and on the front of it, it said, Duke University, one of the leaders on gene therapy to find a cure for cancer, gets their program shut down. You're like, huh. Okay. Funny, I was just talking to my friend. I was saying, there's a lot of excitement in the gene therapy field about curing cancer, and then the next thing I know, on the front page, they're getting it shut down.
I don't know.
That's interesting stuff. Well, Sambo, actually, I found an article kind of from a guy named David H. Gorski. It was published. He's a surgical oncologist at the Barbara and Karmanos Cancer Institute, specializing in breast cancer surgery. He also serves on the American College of Surgeons Committee of Cancer Liaison Physician, as well as an associate professor of surgery, yada, 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 graduate of this. These credentials are a mile long, but he actually wrote an article based off Reif's claims, and he kind of brought up some of the stuff that you're claiming about the pharmaceutical sales and the money involved,
right.
Just to kind of quote what he said about, for those who think that the profit motive is sufficient explanation, not all the people and institutions named are for a profit. And what about countries with socialized medicine who could dramatically reduce their healthcare costs if cancer cure were found? And is Canada, the UK, of all European Union, in fact, in on this conspiracy to protect American cancer treatment profits? Is as hidden cure conspiracy theorists forget that there are other countries in the world. Also, let me see if he wrote another thing about the money situation. Let me see if I can find it through. He has like 12 points basically on this stuff. And he goes, research funding and researchers themselves would shift their focus where it's needed. Some might shift their skills to other diseases entirely. Perhaps fewer doctors and researchers could go to cancer research if the cure was already found. As with only a significant medical advance, the medical infrastructure would adapt. They also tend to, they say conspiracies tend to ignore the incentive of finding the cure. He goes on and on. I actually will have the link to his his article, and it was actually published. I have it here in the on the Science-Based Medicine Org website back on February 14, 2011. But it goes on a list about how actually they would make more money and how much money they're actually spending in research right now, the hundreds and hundreds of millions for curing cancer. For what reason? Why would they? Just to suppress it if they find it? And I guess that's the whole thing about follow the money. That's basically what he was saying. It's like, why would they stop the cure? Because they actually would make more money. It would actually splinter off and actually bring more research in other areas where they can focus their energy.
All right. Well, I got my skeptic's corner on this one, man.
Yeah, go for it, man.
How much of this money is coming from the American public, and how much is coming from the government? That would be something to research, because even if it's costing them billions of dollars, if it's not coming from the government and it's coming from the American public, what do they care, right?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Look at, I can't watch a football game without there being some kind of breast cancer awareness thing, or seeing a pink sticker, or a pink ribbon somewhere, or like, buy something and we'll donate $1 to the cancer awareness. You know what I'm saying?
No, I understand.
So I would like to see the stats of how much is actually coming out of the government and how much is privately funded straight through the American public, man.
No, that makes sense. I mean, and he brings up the whole point about the claim, who are they? You know, like I brought up earlier, are hiding this cure from cancer, you know, since no one really knows who they are. They always speculate who they are, but we don't really know. You know, they generally have an image, they saying about conspiracy theorists, they generally have an image of the medical establishment as a monolithic, but nothing could be further from the truth. The medical establishment is composed of universities, professional organizations, journals, regulatory agencies, researchers, funding agencies, and countless individuals, all with differing incentives and perspectives. The idea that they would all have this massive conspiracy to hide perhaps the greatest cure known to mankind is beyond absurd. Again, yeah. I'm just the messenger.
Oh yeah.
And we'll, like I said, you can read this article too. We'll put the link up here for you, Sambo, so you can maybe our second episode on this, we can rehash some of these.
Yeah, we'll post all the links up in the show notes here for both sides. But yeah, I mean, this stuff is so dense, that it can just spiral into a circular conversation over and over again.
Definitely.
And I'd say for people, keep an open mind. Like, research things. Definitely on both ends, it's good to be skeptical. I think skeptics keep people honest. I think skepticism is good, and research things for yourself, and come to your own conclusions. And that's the thing with this stuff. Like, hopefully these shows can kind of spark someone to start diving into some sort of research on this stuff. So we need to get wrapping up here.
Yeah.
We're trying to keep the shows at an hour. We always end up going a little over, but that's all right.
I had one more thing to say.
Sure, yeah.
The medical community. Number one, because both sides, the evidence is. The statistics can go both ways. Both sides have their evidence and their research to support their claims. You're right. People should have an open mind and try it for themselves. If you get sick, why don't you try it? Alternative method. You know what I'm saying? Or better yet, live like they used to back in the day, man. Try to balance your life and be healthy. You know what I mean? See what that does.
And live to the age of 40.
Or live until
until something eats you, or you die of ammonia or something.
But guys, Methuselah.
Methuselah. Yeah. So, people should just try it for themselves. Like I said, I have a friend, and I'm sure she was skeptical, but she tried it and she's cured. And
interesting.
It would be easy to debunk if there was only one or two people coming out saying, hey, I got this crazy cure for cancer. There's hundreds and hundreds. Okay, maybe not hundreds and hundreds, but hundreds. Like when I was talking to people about this, I was saying, yeah, there's probably dozens of cures for cancer. Looking up and researching more, there's hundreds. There's a lot of things. Mm-hmm. And it does make sense that if we just look to nature, that we can find a lot of cures. You know what I'm saying? I read this book on, this was a book, man, The 4 Arguments for the Elimination of Television. Anyways, it was about this guy kind of getting disconnected from modern society, and getting back to the basics. Well, him and his wife took a trip to some remote islands. He was a rich guy and he could do that, The people told him to wear shoes and stuff on the coral reef because they could be poisonous. You know what I mean? They could get stung or something and die. Well, they noticed that their tour guide didn't wear any shoes, and they asked him about it. They go, aren't you worried about getting stung and getting poisoned and stuff? And he goes, look, nature provides a cure. If there's a poison, the antidote is never far away. He said, if I get stung by one of these things, all I have to do is take a starfish and put it, and they'll suck the poison out. He goes, that's how nature works. So it doesn't add up in my head that we have these incurable diseases. I feel like we do have all the resources to take care of ourselves, you know? And just try it. I haven't been sick in a few years, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Every time I start to feel a little bit bad, I just take my medicine, dude. and I'm good. You know what I mean? So
what exactly do you do, Sambo?
I've got I'm on the Dr. Bob Beck protocol, which is the blood purifier.
Okay.
Then he's got this magnetic pulsar and colloidal silver, and then I've got an ozonator for my water to help flush out all the toxins.
Okay.
So anytime I'm starting to feel like I'm getting sick or something, I juice up, man, and I'm good, man.
All right, cool.
So I mean, it's working for me. You know, like, I haven't had to fight cancer yet, but I'm going to try to maintain my body so that hopefully I never will. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But my heart does go out to the people that go through that stuff, man. And I wish there was more unity in the community on getting this problem figured out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And because I've had dear friends suffer through the chemo and all that stuff, man. As I'm sure you guys, I know Joey, you have. Yeah. I'm sure you have too, Sean. I mean, it's not pretty, man. It's really not. You know what's even sicker is little kids are starting to come down with this stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's not
man,
good.
it breaks my heart, dude. If I didn't feel so passionately about the music, I definitely would start getting involved in the research, man. But I mean, you can't do everything, right?
Exactly.
Can't do everything.
Well, hey guys, we do need to wrap up here. Joey, did you have anything else at all? But I think we've set up a little launching pad for people to research this stuff a bit further, and you know.
I agree. You know, just echo what you said, Sean. I think we all should be skeptical, and we shouldn't just when we hear a conspiracy theory or any other kind of statement of truth or, hey, check into this, we should all check into it. I mean, what's going to hurt? We're going to find out, you know, maybe it leads us to nowhere. But, you know, if we just dismiss some stuff, how, you know, what are we doing to ourselves? You know, why are we're just going to hurt ourselves in the long run, you know? Because, I mean, think about all the discoveries in the world. If we always just said, these theorists were saying, hey, what about this? What about that? You know, where would we be now if we didn't take them seriously?
Yeah, I think it's good to be open and, you know, be open and be willing to educate yourself on things. And like we were speaking about earlier, that's the problem with our society today. People don't want to take the time. And you almost need to kind of change your thinking. And you know what? Take the time, you know? Life is busy, but you know, life shouldn't be too busy for you to learn about the world around you. So, all right, guys. Well, Sambo, thank you so much for chatting about chemtrails and cures for cancer. I mean, there's so many quote unquote conspiracy theories. We could have been here all day going through the list.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
So, you know, it'd be fun to have more conversations and you know, under this umbrella of conspiracy theories.
Yeah, maybe, you know, if we want to touch back onto this subject, I can get my friend that is actually in the cancer research field to join in the conversation as well, to all of us.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this week's episode of the AxPx podcast. We're going to be off next week for Christmas and possibly off for the new year. So we'll talk to all of you in 2013. That's if the world doesn't come to an end. On
dun dun dun.
You know, you may not. We may be, you know, posting the show and then no one will be able to hear it because the world's going to end. I don't know. So hopefully we'll be able to talk to all of you in 2013. Have a happy and have a happy, merry. I don't even know. I'm horrible at giving. You know, happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Christmas holiday. But I celebrate Christmas, so Merry Christmas, everyone. Have a great
Happy Festivus.
There you go. And Again, the AxPx podcast brought to you by Charming Beard Coffee. Go to charmingbeard.com, order a bag of coffee, and type AxPx in the coupon code, and you'll get a 10% discount on the awesome coffee that is Charming Beard. We'll talk to all of you next year. Bye-bye.
Peace.